Okay, where do you want me? Oh, okay. Well, yeah, I can get this. Anyway, so I was asked a few questions, and I was asked to come and talk about some of the things that we do here, and some of the interesting things that we do. Actually, we do, of course, a lot of mapping, a lot of things that are done with GPS units, telemetry, satellite feeds. We have access to two satellites, the old American Express satellite from years and years ago, and one other. So we can do aerials, we can do a whole lot of things. But I think one of the biggest things, and some of the criteria that I should talk about right now, is the elements that exist right now in regard to the ongoing situations in the actions by not so legitimate government agencies, corrupt agencies like the Bureau of Land Management and even the forestry. I'm very sadly surprised that they're taking part in some of the BLM activities and the misinformation and the lies in the concept of using deception and using that in order to increase their budgets, so to speak, within the wild horses that are on public and forestry lands. The public lands, of course, being the BLM lands, the forestry lands being also federal lands. And let's clear something up right off the top, is that both the forestry, the Bureau of Land Management, and the Fish and Wildlife Service, as well as others that have wild horses on their public lands that American taxpayers pay for, are under the guise of the Wild Horse and Burro Act. I would suggest that if you're an advocate, that possibly everybody should read and be familiar with the Wild Horse and Burro Act. The premise of Wild Horse Annie's, Velma Johnson, the whole aspect of her paradigm is to save the wild horses and to not, and I repeat, not compromise the wild horses through breed controls, birth controls, pesticide PZP, having their ovaries yanked out by chains, and her premise also was to eliminate the fact of corrupt government agencies taking hold and corrupting those elements of the Wild Horse and Burro Act. As we know, that takes place right now as I speak, and it's been taking place for about, 20 years, 30 years now, maybe even more, 20, 30 years plus. But the Wild Horse and Burro Act came out in 1971, so let's say from 1971 onward, the whole Wild Horse and Burro program within the Bureau of Land Management and the other forms of government are definitely corrupt. And we're talking about billions of dollars here. We're just not talking about just one occurrence of the Wild Horse and Burro Act being corrupted. These government agencies use these programs for budget increases on their all-around format of, or their all-around landscape, you might say, in regard to paying themselves benefits. We can look at the, year and a half ago, we got 512 occasions where they were brought in front of government oversight boards, I guess, and that kind of thing. That many times, and they were all in regard to where did the money go. And not one person out of all of that many people that were looked into, questioned by senators and congressmen alike, not one person went to jail, not one person got fired. What's the story here? I mean, we're talking about $116 billion in the mining industry alone that was questioned, and people were asking, where in the hell did all that money go? That the mine industry was supposed to pay the government. Well, different lobby groups got involved and that kind of thing, and it's just, the whole conversation just left. And quite frankly, I'm with the taxpayers that are getting a little bit perturbed and pissed off at the lack of action of our government representatives not taking action against these corrupt agencies like the Bureau of Land Management the current forestry department. Let's look at it by an example. If I went out and bought a new truck, brand new GMC truck, $80,000. Well, I went to get a loan for that truck, and I'm paying the loan with interest. I'm covering the truck with insurance in order to protect my interest as well as the interest of the banks or whatever you might use. And all of a sudden, say the Bureau of Land Management comes along and says, you can't drive your truck anymore, we're going to use it, but you're going to pay the bill. Well, that's exactly what's going on with our public lands. We sat there, we don't get any benefits from what's called the grazing permit program for cattle ranchers to graze their cattle on public lands. We receive nothing, zero, zip, nothing. We pay in the billions of dollars on a yearly basis through our tax money for that land, and what do we get in return is disrespect, government agencies and personnel there, because we're bringing up the truth about, hey, where's our benefits and what are we getting out of this? Well, we get nothing. And they say, screw you, you get nothing. Too bad. It's our land. Well, no, it's not. It's our land, Americans' land. I'm sitting here as a veteran, and there's 6 more veterans out there that are looking on right now as I'm speaking, and they're shaking their heads yes. 2 of them are women, and every one of those 6 people have been in combat. Every one of them. Everybody here has been in combat in one war or another. Can we rationalize this within the matter of government agencies and corrupt nonprofits that are working with them, calling us a fringe element? No, we can't rationalize that at all. And we also can't rationalize the fact that we pay billions of dollars a year in taxes for our public lands, and we get nothing more than a screw you out of these ranchers and that kind of thing that hold grazing permit and lease land. They lease land, they don't own it, on our government lands, on our tax-paid dollar lands. One might ask right away, well, where's your representatives? Because we pay them. That's a 2-year-old and that kind of thing. He thinks he's a big bad stallion. And there's some mares off in the distance, and a couple of Mustangs over there. But and by the way, there might be a train come by, or that's off. We live in the country here. There's a road right over here. There's more horses even over there further up. And you know, it's called country living, and that's what it is. It's just all these noises and that kind of thing intermixed. So the fact is, it's our perception is when we deal in the truth and we're called a fringe element, then there's definitely something wrong. But we can also look at the evidence. For example, up in Modoc, we can find a road that taxpayers pay on a yearly basis, it's my understanding, a little bit over $1 million a year for an easement that goes through a grazing permit leaser land ranch, cattle ranch. An easement that we own. Big gust of wind came up, big rattle, the horses were moving. Anyway, so why are we paying for that easement when that cattle rancher is only leasing that land, number one, and we're paying him $1 million a year on federal land, public lands that taxpayers support and own, and we're paying him $1 million for an easement that we own? I find a lot wrong with that. There is a lot wrong with that. Not just a little bit, but a lot. That's called corruption. And then we find that nepotism is alive and well at Modoc Forestry out of Honduras, California. And we find a lot of the people that work there are relatives. And that grazing permit rancher are relative to the people that work in the forestry. We got a lot going on, and our legislators apparently think that that's okay. There's a lot of us, both state and federal, as American citizens and taxpayers, that don't think that's okay. But we're a fringe element? I don't think so. So that's off my chest. Anyway, So we have a lot going on in corruption. We have a lot of deceptive situations, a lot of misinformation situations, just a lot of corruptness that needs to be curtailed, but for some reason our Justice Department isn't going after these people. I'm not quite sure what that situation is, but I know that we pay them a lot of money in order to safeguard us from corrupt government agencies and corrupt nonprofits alike. Believe it or not, there's a regulatory situation through several community, well, there is through community organizations as well, watchdog groups, but there's federal organizations as well that are government agencies that have oversight in regard to nonprofits. Not just government agencies, but nonprofits as well. So we have a lot of neglect going on in regard to our public lands, and it's kind of a slipshod ordeal that's going on out there. A lot of lands being destroyed. Hell, we even have a welfare rancher in Central Oregon that leases out a lot of their grazing permit land. That's illegal. You and I can't go out there and get public land and lease it out. That's ridiculous to even assume that that's very possible. And here we are, and they call their ranching operation, by the way, holistic, which is more deceptions, more misinformation, and they sell it at Whole Foods. And it's like, well, no, because we've gone there and we see the things that they kind of pepper the feed with, and how they fertilize their grass crops, and I mean, it's on and on, that kind of thing. It just goes beyond belief that we're being sold the fact that that's a holistic situation that is of any value whatsoever. And here's some more of the wildlife that's here. This is Missy. So anyway, we have so we have several situations, and we're only talking about these grazing permit. We're only talking about maybe the welfare ranching community here in the Pacific Northwest and across the 11 western states only sell less than 1%. I think domestic sales receipts were at 0.47 of 1% sales in the United States. So we're not talking about a whole lot of situations that exist here. I know she's very aggressive cat. She's a wild cat. Somebody had dumped her off, and I just started, kind of thing. She's a good cat. But for less than 1% sales margins domestically, so I guess they sell a lot to Japan and some of the other countries that are wrecking our entire world through their nuclear things and whatnot. But we have more problems than that. We have the term humane being misused, and we have supposedly humane organizations that are misusing that term, and they're actually partnering with like the Thompson Sons and Brothers. Apparently that's an auction yard in the central United States, and they're very, very dubious operation, very corrupt. A lot of animals go to slaughter, horses in particular, and they have a very dubious cottage industry that is extremely bad, and it basically is aligned with, oh my goodness, just pumping up prices, and the sales of the horses to advocates that they want to do well. The meaning is there, and the meaning is very well. Their ethical standards are high, but they're getting taken to the cleaners by these shysters, by these scammers. And so we out here in the 11 Western, in regard to some of the nonprofits and some of the things that they support, like pesticide use, horses ovary being ripped out chains, hands. I don't know, some kind of what it is. I just don't even want to discuss it. I didn't want to know about it, but there it is. Missy, please, yeah, I'll talk to you later. She just needs attention. That's all. Anyway, domestically, we have some problems with the Bureau of Land Management Grazing Permit Program, and it's getting even further out of hand. And quite frankly, The only reason they have the grazing permit program and the wild horse and burro program is to enhance their budgets. Therefore, the misinformation, the lies, the deceptions, all the stuff that we simply don't want. And it costs taxpayers even more money. That's when it gets into the billions of dollars. Why are we paying that? Because they deceive the legislators as well, or the legislators just don't care. So one of my messages within all of this is the fact that we're just going to have to belly up to the bar, and we're going to have to make our legislators start looking at this grazing permit program, as well as the some of these other programs, the wild horse and burro program, and see just exactly what the truth is and what some of this misinformation is. I mean, literally, 2020 is the denominator here, and quite frankly, I would rather not see some of these legislators in office right now if they're simply going to promote corruption of things that the Bureau of Land Management dwell in. The Bureau of Land Management is totally corrupt. Well, okay, my goodness, God. So the BLM is totally corrupt. We know that. The forestry is totally corrupt. We know that. But nobody is doing anything about it. So it's time that the taxpayers and the power that taxpayers have, we are the voting public. We're the voters. It's that simple. And if I'm talking as if I'm fringe element, then I don't know. You know, when we start talking elections and a veteran is sitting here talking about voting, I can't think of anything more American than that. And the people that are standing over there all shaking their heads and bouncing their spurs, it's like, you know, well, yes, that's what we are. We're Americans. We're the American part of being American. That's what being veterans are. That's what we do. That's what we've done. That's why America is America. And it amazes me the amount of corruption that the BLM gets away with. And the veterans are they even get hit with lack of budgets and that kind of thing, where you have a welfare rancher up in eastern Washington that's making close to $1 million a year, killing off wildlife and doing whatever he wants to do, and nobody's putting him in check. And in the meantime, and he gets not only millions, but that's just one subsidy in the grazing permit program. There's other things that are ongoing as well. And it's so we have a situation that at the VA, for example, budgets, they try their damnedest to work within the budgets that they got. And for some reason, this administration has taken the time out to decrease the budgets in the Veterans Administration in order to pay some of these welfare ranchers for shutting us off from building corruption. That's just 1%, that's the sales receipts. We're paying all of their underlying costs. For crying out loud, we're paying all the liability costs that they have. And for what? We don't get any benefit from that. There's veterans who go without men, go without some of the arms without going off to wars. And they're also, the two nurses are over there going, by all means, yes, make that clear, that there's veterans who don't have arms, don't have legs, and they should, because that's part of their damn benefit. And they can't go to the government any longer and within any of the programs to get reestablished within the community when they come back from war, because those budgets have been canceled and they're going to these damn welfare ranchers that, as I said, do less than 1% sales receipts in America. We don't get a discount on that beef, by the way. We get an increase in that beef. There's nothing that we get from this grazing permit program or the welfare ranching community. Nothing. Zip. They live off myth. The whole purpose of the Taylor Grazing Act was to put those ranchers and grazing permit lands in check. But somehow they've taken over the Bureau of Land Management, they've taken over the Department of the Interior. And now we see that there's nothing that puts them in check at all. And we see that in the billions and billions of dollars. When you got billionaires having plenty of tax write-offs from lands that we can't even match their tax write-offs. There's no way. In the trickle-down theory, that's crap. There's nothing, there's no such thing. It doesn't trickle back to us at all. It goes into their pockets and they become, who knows, they used to be millionaires, now they're billionaires. Now they're going to be zillionaires in another 10 years, you know, if things go, but everything's going to be destroyed in another 10 years anyway. So anyway, I've just kind of orated some of the things that, we're going to make another one of these, by the way, when the cat's not around. So this was with Missy. Come here, Missy. This is a wild cat. Somebody had dumped this cat off out here, and it's just weird that even happens. I just can't believe people that just bring their animals to the country and dump them off. But don't worry, because there's people like myself and the people that own this stable and some of the people over there, and that we all find numerous amount of cats, dogs, and horses. So that's just the way it is today in our time in the country. So hit the trenches and that kind of thing, and let's straighten out some legislators because they need straightening out. And talk to you later.